Hello, here for Odd Thomas chapter 25. Last chapter, Stormy and Odd were having a conversation with Viola Peabody about her dream that basically showed her being shot in the face or shot in the head. Anyway, here we go, chapter 25. Although I'm unable to read faces to discover either a person's future or the secrets of her heart, I could not look a moment longer at Viola Peabody's face, for I imagined what I couldn't truly read, and in my mind saw her motherless daughter standing at her grave. I went to one of the open windows. Beyond lay a side yard overhung by pepper trees. Out of the warm darkness came the sweet fragrance of jasmine that had been planted and tended by Viola's caring hands. Ordinarily, I have no fear of the night. I feared this one, however, because the change from August 14th to August 15th was coming express train fast, as if the rotation of the earth had drastically gained speed by the flicking of a godly finger. I turned to Viola, who still sat on the edge of her armchair. Her eyes, always large, were owlish now, and her brown face seemed to have a gray undertone. I said, "Isn't tomorrow your day off?" She nodded. Because she had a sister who could babysit her daughters, Viola worked at the grill 6 days a week. Stormy said, "Do you have plans? What are you doing tomorrow?" "I figured I'd work around the house in the morning. Always things to do here. In the afternoon, that's for the girls." "You mean Nicolina and Lavana?" I said, naming her daughters. "Saturday. That's Lavana's birthday. She'll be 7. But the grill is busy Saturdays. Good tips. I can't miss work. So we were going to celebrate early." "Celebrate how?" "That new movie. It's a big hit with all the kids. The one with the dog." We were going to go to the 4 o'clock show. Before Stormy spoke, I knew the essence of what she would say. Might be more of a crowd in a cool theater on a summer afternoon than at a Little League game. I asked Viola, "What did you plan after the movie?" Terry said, "Bring them to the grill. Dinner's on her." The grill could be noisy when all the tables were filled, but I didn't think that the enthusiastic conversation of the patrons in our little restaurant could be mistaken for the roar of a crowd. In dreams, of course, everything can be distorted, including sounds. With the open window at my back, I suddenly felt vulnerable to an extent that made the skin pucker on the nape of my neck. I looked out into the side yard again. All appeared to be as it had been a minute ago. The graceful branches of the peppers hung in the breathless, jasmine-scented night air. Shadows and shrubs plated their different darknesses, but as far as I could tell, they didn't give cover to Bob Robertson or anyone else. Nevertheless, I stepped away from the window to the side of it when I turned once more to Viola. "I think you ought to change your plans for tomorrow." By saving Viola from this destiny, I might be sentencing someone else to die horribly in her place, just as might have been the case if I had warned off the blonde bartender at the bowling alley. The only difference was that I didn't know the blonde, and Viola was a friend. Sometimes complex and difficult moral choices are decided less by reason and by right than by sentiment. Perhaps such decisions are the paving stones on the road to hell. If so, my route is well paved, and the welcoming committee already knows my name. In my defense, I can only say that I sensed, even after that. In my defense, I can only say that I sensed, even then, that saving Viola meant saving her daughters too. 3 lives, not 1. "Is there any hope?" Viola touched her face with the trembling fingers of one hand, tracing the bones of jaw and cheek and brow, as if discovering not her skull, but instead death's countenance in the process of replacing her own. "Any hope this can pass from me?" "Fate isn't one straight road," I said, becoming the oracle that earlier in the day I had declined to be for her. "There are forks in it, many different routes to different ends. We have the free will to choose the path." "Do whatever Audie says," Stormy advised, "and you'll be all right." "It's not that easy," I said quickly. "You can change the road you take, but sometimes it can bend back to lead you straight to that same stubborn fate." Viola regarded me with too much respect, perhaps even awe. "I was just sure you knew about such things, Odd, about all that's otherly and beyond." Uneasy with her admiration, I went to the other open window. Terry's Mustang stood under a street lamp in front of the house. All quiet. Nothing to be alarmed about. Nothing and everything. We had taken steps to be sure we weren't being followed from the bowling center. I remained concerned anyway, because Robertson's appearance at little Ozzy's house and again in the churchyard had surprised me, and I could not afford to be surprised a third time. Viola, I said, turning to her once more, changing all your plans for tomorrow isn't enough. You'll need to remain vigilant, alert to anything that seems wrong. Well, I'm already as jumpy as a cricket. That's no good. Jumpy isn't the same as vigilant. She nodded. You're right. You need to be as calm as possible. I'll try. I'll do my best. Calm and observant, prepared to react fast to any stress, to any threat, but calm enough to see it coming. Poised on the edge of the chair, she still appeared to be as ready to leap as any cricket. In the morning, Stormy said, we'll bring you a photo of a man you ought to be on the lookout for. She glanced at me. Can you get her a good picture of him, Audie? I nodded. The chief would provide me with a computer-printed blow-up of the photo of Robertson that the DMV had released to him. What man? Viola asked. As vividly as possible, I described Fungus Man, who had been at the grill during the first shift before Viola had arrived for work. If you see him, get away from him. You'll know the worst is coming, but I don't think anything will happen tonight, not here. From all indications, he's intended to make headlines in a public place. Lots of people. Tomorrow, don't go to the movies, Stormy said. I won't, Viola assured her. And not out to dinner either. Although I didn't understand what could be gained from having a look at Nicolina and Lavana, I suddenly knew that I should not leave the house without checking on them. Viola, may I see the girls? Now? They're sleeping. I won't wake them, but it's important. She rose from the chair and led us to the room that the sisters shared. 2 lamps, 2 nightstands, 2 beds, and 2 angelic little girls sleeping in their skivvies, under sheets but without blankets. 1 lamp had been set at the lowest intensity on its 3-way switch. The apricot-covered shade cast a soft, inviting light. 2 windows were open to the hot night. As insubstantial as a spirit, a translucent white moth beat its wings insistently against one of the screens, with the desperation of a lost soul fluttering against the gates of heaven. Mounted on the inside of the windows, with an emergency release handle that couldn't be reached from outside, were steel bars that could prevent a man like Harlan Anderson from getting at the girls. Screens and bars could foil moths and maniacs, but neither could keep out Bodaks. 5 of them were in the room. Oh, damn. Damn. That's chapter 25. See you next time. Let's figure out what's happening. Chapter 26 next time.